Hi there, good morning, and welcome to our Digital Leaders Week talk, DevOps in Local Government. I'm Rob Langford, I'm the Digital and Data Lead here in Salford, and I guess the reason that we decided to put ourselves forward for this talk was I guess we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back about being DevOps, but also, I guess, if you want to really test out your organisation's skills around your principles on DevOps, about delivering at pace and scale, I think what better challenge than doing it through a pandemic. So I guess I've got a couple of team members here with me today, Ash and Jesse, so I guess would like to introduce yourself, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Ash Patel, I'm the DevOps manager. I've worked at Salford for 17 years. I started as a junior developer and then a senior consultant, and now I'm the DevOps manager.
Hi, I'm Jesse. I work as senior developer. I've been in Salford for the 13 years. I am the team lead for Apex development work.
Yeah, so you can see that we're all pretty new to the organisation here. That's it, once we're in, we're in. So I guess our hope for this morning is we kind of want to talk through some of the things that we've done through the pandemic over the last kind of 14, 15 months. Cover some of the applications, how we've done it, what our experiences were, and I guess just widely kind of to, I guess, talk about how we've set ourselves up well for this as we see. I guess first it's probably worth giving us a bit of background around what we've done to get ourselves in this position. So I think if you sort of rewind the clock about 2 years, we kind of were a more traditional ICT function that's probably very familiar looking across the country, looking at other local governments. We've always had a really strong developer function and been fortunate to have some really talented colleagues in the team. But as I said, 2 years ago, we started to restructure into what is now our digital data and technology function, and really kind of key to that was our AD, Steve Fry, who you might have heard from earlier in the week in one of the other talks, was around bringing us together as that digital data and technology, but not only bringing together ICT, but also bringing in our digital services to understand the web platforms and other digital platforms we had, but on top of that, our BI function as well. So that was really kind of key to start it off. And I guess as part of that, the creation of our DevOps function and the appointment of Ash, our DevOps manager. So Ash, I guess you want to talk us through a bit what that means? Yeah,
I think before the start of the pandemic, we basically had things we've built in-house already. For a long time, we've built our CRM system in-house. We built it on really good principles so that we could always extend it. There were lots of modules, but what success we had through CRM was we built integrations into our major back office systems. So that was really good. So we had all those foundations. We have a key finder product we developed over the years, which is our key hub. And basically, that's what CRM plugs into, and it allows us integration into these back office systems, almost allows us to do single views from the CRM into the back office system. So when we talk about years ago, when we used to talk about the golden customer record, we were able to do those type of things. And then we have our online forms module, which is pluggable, can integrate into all of these back office systems through Keyfinder. Again, you could fill in a form and it would drop into any of the back office systems. So basically we before the pandemic had that foundation, and we build our solutions reusable, scalable and extendable. So yeah, we were sort of in that position at the beginning of the pandemic, Rob.
No, Ace, and I guess kind of, I know you touched on the back office applications, which I guess probably really familiar to a lot of some of his colleagues from local government tuned in, but Jess, I guess, do you want to talk us through what systems they are?
As Ash mentioned, we have a key finder hub, and our CRM is plugged in. The way we work is that it was plugged into our back office systems like the social care system, the attendance management system, we have the equipment loan management system. It was everything is in, and the most importantly also the revs and ben system. So a customer record is linked into all these different systems. So we have a single view of a customer, and we can see all this data in one single view. We don't have to pass with different systems. So that's one I think is a success for our CRM, that that it works for us and it works for the other departments as well.
No, absolutely, really kind of key. So I guess then that kind of takes us through to sort of March of last year. I think it's obviously writ large in everybody's lives around the sort of changes we went through. I certainly remember that at that time we were kind of, whether it's fortunately or maybe somebody's got a crystal ball on our side, but I know that we were rolling out laptops to our organisation anyway to allow remote working, which again really key, helps keep our services running through the time. But I guess what we wanted to talk on was to talk about sort of those kind of three are probably the big applications, the services we've delivered. And I guess the first one of those was our humanitarian response. So what we were going to offer to our residents, or the people of Salford, really. That's what it's got to come back down to. So how we kind of what helps them. So I guess, Ash, do you want to kick us off with what we did, I guess, and what we were asked to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the pandemic hit, and I remember on the 20th of March 2020, our Assistant Director, Steve Fry, he gathered us around the whiteboard to plan our humanitarian response. And I think within an hour, we'd drawn out what that was going to be. And the outcome basically was we were going to set up a helpline and an online referral system. And actually, we had that up and running in 72 hours, working over the weekend. And basically, we developed what we call the Spirit of Salford CRM. It allowed real-time referrals into our partner organisations. It basically allowed the customer team to focus on helping people. We were able to deliver it really quickly because what we were able to do, because of our pluggable solutions and reusable solutions, we took our online forms module, we configured a referral based on that. We were able to pick up our integrated CRM database and build the SOS CRM app based on that. So again, all these components came together for us to be able to rapidly deliver this solution. For the people who want to know a little bit of technical details on that, Rob, our forms module is built on .NET, and we use Bitbucket as our version control and Team City for our continuous integration and development server. And our CRM app is built on our low-code development platform, Oracle Apex. So yeah, we were really able to scale and leverage the components we already had, put them together to deliver this really fast, closely working with our customer team. And as you can imagine, at the 72 hours, it didn't stop. We're still continually developing that. And we added new features. We added what we call callback consoles. So I think, Jissi, could you tell us a little bit about the callback consoles?
Yeah, basically, Rob, you would drop a file with a list of people who we wanted to contact back to make sure that they were okay. So we had an automated process where we would read this file and load into our database, the database that is integrated with our CRM system, and then we had callback console screen for our contact center staff to prioritize the workload that this data load. They would go through each individual customer's list, and they would try and contact the customer. If they couldn't contact, they can leave a footprint, an audit trail on the customer that they were not able to contact, that they helped the customer, or there was a wrong phone number there, so there was an unable to contact. So those things were all left as a footprint on the customer's record. And this helped to create the stats for us to see how many customers were contacted, how many were not contacted. So this helped in the overall stats to tell the users that these were recorded on the list.
Yeah, no, and I guess if there's any of our colleagues that might have known, I was kind of heavily involved in what was shielding and the critically extremely vulnerable lists, and remember the pain of the kind of daily files, which went on for far too long, it felt like. But we actually ended up being the hub for Greater Manchester, so we got all of Greater Manchester's data. We used to get that daily. We set up processes to pull that data down, split it out, distribute it via Microsoft Teams securely to those other districts, and then, as Jess kind of said, keyed into that process where we kind of dropped it in with them. So no, it was a big one, but so really kind of a big success, that one that felt like, and I think really kind of key to all of this is obviously, and I think I guess worth touching on if you want to know any more detail about the stuff that we've talked about. Mark and Stephen, some of our colleagues, talked earlier in the week, so have a look at some of the other videos from Salford City Council that will cover some of the things that we're talking about more from the customer's perspective, which I guess kind of touches into, I guess, really, Ash, I mean, who do we work with, I guess, on these?
So I guess we worked with our customer team really closely. There was a lot of support from our infrastructure and user support colleagues, and that really made us be successful in the delivery of this, because we co-designed the solution, so the end product was basically what we wanted it to be.
And I guess, I mean, obvious some of the successes, but I guess I guess really first, was there any issues you had? What was difficult to do? What do we find hard, I guess?
I think if you imagine that was the first wave of things to come, and it was that almost, we need to deliver this extremely quickly. I mean, we generally deliver stuff quickly, but this was a different case, and it needed to be delivered over the week. So we developed this over the weekend. So by Monday, you know, it was ready to go, tested and ready to go. So that was a challenge. We were basically making sure that we were putting in a design so that we could extend that, because we knew more things would come. So it was putting in the right design in the first place so that we could extend this this solution we delivered throughout the pandemic.
No, absolutely, and I know you mentioned that whiteboard. I mean, I don't know if anybody took a picture of it, but I'd quite like that on the wall. If we ever get back in the office, that would be a nice one to have on the wall, wouldn't it? That's where it all started. Jason, anything for you, I guess, that went well, or what you whether we were set up for it, or whether it just happened to go well, or the approach we took?
We were set up for it, I think, because we had our CRM, that was a very strong base that we had. So we were ready to roll out. You know, we had all the solutions in small components. We just had to pick it up and plug into this. And I think the other thing that is everybody's passion, you know, just to help the community out. We stood as one team, and that helped. That was one factor, success factor. Where everybody had the same passion within the team that we need to help out, and that was two factors that I would say.
No, I would certainly look at it, and I know that that's that pace, and I know that we've kind of said this before in either whether it's in team meetings or whether we've done sort of talks that I've been involved in where I've gone out to other local government colleagues, and it's around saying that we've kind of looks like we've been a bit of an overnight success, but it's an overnight success that we've been building for 5-10 years, really.
Yeah, it's not just come instantly.
I know, yeah, we didn't just have a really busy weekend, but no, absolutely. And I think sometimes, I don't want to say I felt smug, but we're talking to other colleagues, and because it's such a mammoth ask on the service across the whole country, and the fact that we were asking people to undertake things that they've never done before, and I think the bits that we kind of saw through it, and ultimately it has to be about the people and it's about the response. But for us, we didn't really see anything beyond that. Oh, that's a CRM you're talking about. Like day one, it wasn't anything. It wasn't about managing a humanitarian response. It wasn't about, for us as a technical solution, it's like, that's a CRM. And then the way that by understanding our principles, how we build, how we dev out, then enables us to extend those, to iterate out, and which we're still continuing to do. I mean, there's new stuff that's come through, still things coming through it now. I mean, I think, sorry, I had to write these down because I don't remember them. I think we've had just under 28,000 calls have come into the Spirit of Salford helpline. Because again, it's not always going to be digital. It's got to make sure that if we build something, we need to make sure it's built for everyone, and not everybody's going to be there, willing to put it through those digital channels. I think about nearly 3,000 forms have come through, those web forms that you touched on, and I think we've made nearly 12,000 outbound calls, which I think about 11,000 of those were those kind of shielded cohort over the summer last year. So, no, it's amazing, and I think no, like you said, I mean, it's got to come down to it's for the people, and it's that really close knit. It's customer and digital are hand in hand in everything we do, isn't it? So I guess kind of taking us on to sort of like one of the next services, I guess. So I guess if that's our humanitarian response, that's the customers, that's our residents, the people of Salford, helping them out. Clearly, the next thing that we kind of saw coming down the pipeline was the businesses. Obviously, we know businesses shut. The varying restrictions that came in through the kind of pandemic and still ongoing, I guess. But I guess, Ash, can you want to talk us through a bit around what we were asked around that and what our response was?
Yeah, I guess the government were talking about helping businesses, providing grants. I think we anticipated quite early that that was going to happen. So we actually started to already, before any guidance came out, start to develop the solutions that we put in place. So again, we went back to our forms module where we configure an application form, and later we would change that to meet the criteria the government put out, but we already had a basis for it. We developed an app called Thrive, and all these applications would basically drop in here. They would be able to allocate to caseworkers, and then basically evidence would be checked from those applications, and then the caseworker would approve those. We also had a section for our audit colleagues to approve applications, which would finalise that application. So that was all built, and again, it was co-designed with our Revs and Ben's team, and we worked on it together to provide all the solutions for that. And again, a lot of components that made up Thrive were again plugged into existing things we already had. So the code base was much smaller than we normally do. And I guess, Jissy, there were more grants added.
Yeah, obviously with the first grant, after the first grant, then there were grants for self-isolation payment, and then there was local restriction support grant, which we said at LRSG. Now these grants came in, again, it's the same thing. The form, people could fill in the application on the online form, and that would drop into this Thrive, into this LRSG or SIP module, as we say, for self-isolation payment. It would fall in there, and it's the same process where the staff would pre-approve the applications. It would go into an auditor where they would finally approve the applications, and once the application is finally approved, we had an automated process that would send into our SAP system that would make a back payment to the customer. So this was all automated. You know, it was done quickly, but we were there.
No, I mean, we often say, isn't it? I mean, like again, the technical side's easy. Is what we always kind of say, anything's possible. And I think that's, again, that same thing when we've spoke to other colleagues and stuff. I think the thing, and I think I probably speak for both of you and say, actually, if you hear about a manual process that some of our colleagues having to do, and it's just like almost like it's just like an itch that we've got to get in there.
Yeah.
When you hear sort of people like going, I've got a 4,000 row spreadsheet that I'm working through. It's like stop that. We're gonna do something around that. So no, really, mate. And that's it. It's that end to end. It's that integration across the system. So no, it was really good, I guess. And so on that one, I know you saw this revs and bends, but again, it's customer service we're working through, and I know that again, another talk. I don't want to plug theirs too much because I can't have their views overtake our views. But customer services did a really good talk, and they'll talk through. They go into a bit more depth around Thrive, around some of the stuff that we did. So really good, I guess. Again, sort of similar questions, I guess. What were the challenges we faced with Thrive and the business support, I guess?
Challenges was the rapid change, you know, because there were different types of lockdown coming, different tiers lockdown, so the legislations were changing every week, and we had to build. But the way it was designed, the way the app was, the design of the application made us easy to do the work. It was more like a configuration for us rather than developing from scratch. So that was a challenge. The legislation changes. It was nightmare. When I think about it, it was nightmare. But we did it. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. Obviously, because of, as Ash mentioned before, because of the reusable, the pluggable, those type of components were all. Our base foundation was strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, well, we've all talked about it already, but I guess what went well for that? I guess what was the wins for us? What worked?
Well, I think something Jissy just mentioned, when our design ethos is to make sure that our solutions are scalable, and we designed Thrive with in mind that some other things will come along. So we were able to add additional grants, additional criteria, all those things that made us deliver these really quickly. And I think a lot of times we were basically on deadline day, we were live, because our aim was always to be live on time so we could help businesses, the quicker they get the money,
absolutely.
The better.
No, absolutely. I think it's something about, I think it's nearly 82 million, I think we've dished out in grants over the last, since the start of lockdown. So, amazing stuff that's going to have to be a lifeline for some of those businesses. We all know the sort of trouble they've been through. Brilliant. So I guess the kind of the third and kind of final one I wanted to kind of touch on was our, I guess a bit of a reach for us. I guess this is a bit of new, I guess with the kind of spirit of Salford, we were talking about customer services, which we've got brilliant links in with customer and digital. We're working with those, our colleagues out in the localities that know the residents, know the localities, know the challenges that are in those specific areas. Great, like with the business teams, though they know about the businesses, what the makeup of the city, what the support are needed. So always had those strong ties, which again helps us anticipate the ask again. The last one was around our kind of what ultimately turned into test, track and trace, but I guess really new world for us. I guess we've done limited work with our public health colleagues, linking in with the hospital, our CCG colleagues as well. So I guess looking back on things, I mean, if you said that sort of, well, if you said 2 years ago, I'd have like loads of emails in my inbox about swab testing, and I've seen the word saliva written in emails far too often for somebody that works in IT. So that's a big change for us. But I guess Ash, again, talk us through how we got into that, what we were asked to do, and where it took us. Yeah.
So we talked about SOS, and just as we delivered that, a PCR testing site was being set up at the AJ Bell Stadium in Salford, and the ask came to us for developing a booking system and some site management. So basically, again, we just finished SOS and we used our online forms module again, and we developed a booking form, which dropped into an app we developed, which turned into our test, track and trace app in the end. There was site management facilities in there, so as somebody drove into the site, a marshal was able to use their mobile phone or tablet to check the person in. A clinician would take the swab. They were able to then mark that that person attended. The app would then also generate the labels that would go on the swab samples and the paperwork. That was then transported to the lab. And then basically the lab would process those, and the results were basically, we integrated the results so they came directly back into the application through our secure tunnel, working with colleagues from Salford Royal and CCG. So all of that was really automated, and that was really interesting as well, Rob, because we got to work with some, to automate those results from the hospital lab to us. As the results came in, anybody negative got an SMS, anybody positive were dropped into a callback console, so they would get a callback. So it was a whole loop. But just as we were finishing that solution, Steve Fry, our assistant director, he anticipated the contact tracing element. So he almost said, contact tracing is coming. So we almost devved out a little bit of a basic contact tracing element to the callback screen, where if you were phoning somebody who was positive, you could collect details of people they'd been in contact with. And actually that became the basis for our consequence management module that we added, because it did come, contact tracing did come, and when we built an entire module for working with our public health colleagues. And actually by the time we'd started to talk to our public health colleagues and the ask came in, we already had a prototype up and working, and then we just added new features based on what they required. So that's how that basically came about. And then, as anything else, we continually developed that. We were basically plugging into components we already had. And yeah, Jesse, do you want to talk about any further developments on that?
Yeah, we did a PHE line list. Basically, it was a list of people who might not be in on our contact tracing, but it's a list of people who've been identified as COVID positive, and that file was given to us by PHE. They would download a file, and we would, again, it's the same process, automated process of reading the file, loading that data into this database, and then obviously there were certain criteria where these people were color-coded with red and amber, which helped the PHE staff to identify and go and contact these customers, and just make sure they were okay, and also to find out if there were any other contacts that they made. And this plugged into our consequence management. And what it was, we also, and anybody who was already in the consequence management, we would mark them as that these people existed in the consequence management. You might not need to contact them because they're already in there and they've been contacted recently. So they could see a full view of what happened with each caseload that was in that PHE file list. And obviously they could create new cases because the consequence management already existed. We didn't have to build anything new. On a click of a button, they could create a new case in the consequence management. And this was all automated. It was all done, again, very quickly because, as I said before, the foundation of the test track app was very strong.
Yeah. No, brilliant. So I guess, again, like I said, we kind of new area for us, that new colleagues working with it, but again, exciting. I mean, like we all like a challenge. It's nice to work with like new methods and new systems and that. So no, really exciting. I guess kind of the same thing that I've been asking all the way through. What do we find difficult in that? What was the challenge around the kind of that side of things?
I think you talked about all the language and understanding some of the clinical languages. So we were speaking to the manager at the lab and some of our Salford Royal colleagues in CCG. And sometimes, as we know, as IT people, we talk in acronyms and things like that. And it was like that a little bit, and it was trying to get your head around all of that and also trying to think about the solution. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but once you started understanding what was going on, yes, it's trying to understand the process on their side, to understand what we need to deliver.
No.
So that was a bit of a challenge.
No, absolutely. And I forgot to come back as well. You said about the anticipating the ask. I mean, I think not to say it's smoke and mirrors and that's how we make it look better than we are, but I mean, that's it. I think the idea of being able to have that vision to see where it's going to go and almost say, actually, we understand what their need is, we're working with them, we're deving out that kind of that collaborative approach, but then we're also thinking about, actually, we're going to preempt where it's going, like what are they going to think about next, so we're making sure, and again, it's that stuff you talked about, Jason, it's making sure that we've got that solid base to build on. Absolutely. I know we've got a short video, but I guess before we jump into that, is there anything that we wanted to cover about what went well, I guess, with that? I mean, I know it's obviously still ongoing. I mean, unfortunately, I know that we've got a bit of an uptick at the minute, sort of locally, so I know that the team's still flat out, still using it, it's still heavily used the system, and it's helping deliver our response, but anything else we want to touch on?
Yeah, I think what really went well was that we really helped our Salford Royal colleagues out, because they were booking staff on to the PCR testing, and the feedback we were getting was that made their life, rather than using spreadsheets, this was a fully automated system that was making their lives absolutely easy. And so that was nice, because, you know, it's always nice, isn't it, when somebody says, good job.
Brilliant. So I guess we've got a bit of a short video, and I know we've not gone into a lot of we've not shown all the apps and stuff, but I guess, again, because we're reusing stuff, a lot of them are very similar based on Oracle Apex as your kind of front end that the customers are using. But we'll play the short video and we'll pick up that, and then it's going to be brought to us by Scott Pass and one of the team in DevOps. So we'll let Scott take it away, and we'll pick up afterwards.
Hello everyone, my name's Scott. I currently look at the DDAP function, which is our in-house IT function at Salford City Council, and I'm a UX designer in the department. So today I'm going to be talking you through the consequent management system, or our test track and trace system as it's better known. So I'm going to be taking you through how to create a case in the system, just to demo it and give you a bit of a preview of how it's all put together and how it works. So today we're going to be looking at schools. So you can see here you can select a setting type, and all these are sort of set up in a fashion whereby it questions you based on what setting it is. So setting, establishment name, I'm going to type a name here, and this is looking up, this is actually using the lookup, so it's looking up schools because we've selected a school. So I'm going to type Monton, I'm going to say Monton Green Primary, and then auto fills in with the address, gives me the establishment telephone number, their email address, etc. I'm going to select a year group, so let's say year 6, on what's happened, outbreak. So therefore that's where we're reporting a COVID case within a school, and then obviously the details of notifier, so we can fill in that. Here's the form quickly filled in. So you can see here this address box is actually tied to a lookup again, similar to how the school is a lookup. And this is looking up all the addresses in Salford, similar to how you would fill in a form, etc. online when you're doing your car insurance or whatever, house insurance, whatever it is. So we're going to hit next, and then we are going to be into the next screen here. So you can see there's 3 steps to this particular form. So we've got establishment, school, and contacts. And again, I'm going to rattle through this at a rate of knots because I'm just conscious that I don't want to spend all day waffling about this. So I'm going to click some fields here, and if you click yes, you can see the form just sort of shifts and changes based on what you click. I'm not reading these, I must add. So as I want to show you the sort of an important element of the form I want to capture. So we're going to click next, and then we're going to come to the final part of the form, which is the contacts. So in here you would add a particular case, so say for instance like the NHS test track and trace. If I got COVID, anyone who I've come into contact with for the past 48 hours would be listed as a contact to me. So ultimately I'd be the owner of the case, and then the contacts will be listed in there as well, and they'll be contacted to say they've been in contact with someone who's got COVID. So once this case has been created, you can see it would appear in our system, and then ultimately we've then created something called a materialized view, which is out of the CRM system that we've got here, and this spits out a table for us to pick up in Power BI, which is this. And ultimately this is an automated process now. So we built this once, so every night the Power BI picks up the data from the system itself, and then basically goes, right, what's happened, what's changed, and updates this sort of visualization that we've built here. So one particular element I want to show you is the mapping part. So I'm going to click on this particular one here, which is a school. It says Willow Tree Primary School. I'm going to click into that, and you can see the right hand side map has changed. So of these, what number of reports I got here? Sorry, 6. So of these 6 cases, these were all where the actual contacts live for these cases. So it's a school, so there's a big spread. So if we, this allows us to give that effective information to our public health team to say, right, the contacts have all been from one area, or we've had 10 reports in a school, therefore that's an outbreak and it needs to be closed down, or we need to, send a year group home or whatever. And it allows us to have that intelligence-led approach to sort of, managing the spread of the virus in the city. So this has allowed us, again, this is like, I guess, the output, the end part of the sort of digital solution that we developed. So I hope I sort of give you a general overarching view. I'm sure the guys over there can give you more of an insight if they can add anything to it. I'm sure they will. So hope you all have a nice day.
Yes.
He's got it good. No, so I guess I said we didn't touch on all of the things, but I mean it was really great. Similar looking platforms, obviously, if we're logging into that. I think one of the things that I probably touched on that probably we haven't talked about yet is around, obviously, by maintaining all these systems, we've got all the data that underpins it. Really kind of important for a couple of things. One, local, central government quite often asking for returns, like how we're spending the money, who we're helping, how many people, where the problems are, where the outbreaks, all of those things, obviously, I don't want to say dead easy, but really easy for us to then pick up and automate those reports back out. So no sort of scrabbling around and finding out off every spreadsheet how far they're up to on their list, so that's really good. But also understanding our kind of service delivery, like how we've performed, how we're doing, what we need to improve on. But wider, I mean, the bit that we kind of start to look at now is that actually what's that overall impact on our city as a whole, not just the residents, but also the businesses. It's where the health impact are. So that's really important for us about the data, and really kind of key, and I'm really passionate about that, about we need to make use of that. This is something maybe that we absolutely need to leverage. I guess anything else to add on the back of the test track and trace stuff that Scott's talked us through there, or he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's done.
He's managed to get out from the front of the camera today, so he managed to sit in his bedroom and do it, so I'll let him off. I guess sort of thinking about concluding and bringing this all together, I think I felt a little bit spoiled by being end of the week. I think at the start of it I was a bit like, oh, last of the week, everybody will have tuned out by then. But I think actually our colleagues have kind of picked up a load of the stuff, so I know that some of the things that we've talked about, I mean, I'm going to talk about our kind of buy-in from senior leadership, but obviously we had our Salford digital leaders on at the start of the week with Debbie Brown and Steve Fry and Mo from Iron4. We've also got the customer service response, so some of our colleagues talking about that, sort of not only Thrive, but also some other stuff around the businesses and around the support payments and the court systems. Spirit of Salford, really good talk there about actually the kind of the front end of it, and actually some really good videos there from actually right down to actually not only the people that were helping, but also the people that were helped. So really fantastic. Go and tune in some of those. And as well, Karen Snape did one around our digital inclusion, which is really important because I mean I know that we quite often think that sort of sometimes I get a bit worried that digital gets hold up as a solution for everything, and it shouldn't be. I think we all probably have that same feeling that when it works well, nobody should really care about this. I mean, we do because we're really techy and we like that side of things. But the digital should be invisible. Like it has to be about the people we're doing it for. What's the outcome? So that's good. So that digital inclusion bit, making sure that when we do something digitally, make sure that we're doing it for everybody as well. So that's really kind of important. But so I guess I don't want to say they did the work for me and summed it up, but I kind of did a little bit. But as I see it, kind of really key to us is that kind of senior buy-in, like really important. I mean, we've mentioned him a few times around our AD who sits across customer and digital, so that's really important for us working together. But also right up to our director, Debbie Brown, and also up to the chief exec level, that idea of being able to support us. So not only kind of give us the kind of the run to have at it and go at it, but also I know that they've got us there to back us to when we're actually in those bits and we're challenging and saying, look, you don't want to be doing this on a spreadsheet. You need something better, because believe us, it's something else is going to come down the line. And yeah, I mean, we know what it's been like in our personal lives as well as everything else. I mean, things have changed so rapidly over the last year. That's absolutely so really good. I mean, and obviously for DevOps, for us, for me, it's really important that we've always had that mindset, but the idea that we can kind of dev our way out of some of the monolithic systems where we've kind of been tied in a little bit, where we've been tied to single solutions and we've not been able to get our data out, and that's the big thing. We can't get to the data and understand what it means. It's like it's going back, it's asking a supplier to build something else for us, so that's really amazing for me. And again, I guess we touched on it at the start about length of service here. I mean, growing our own, I mean, really exciting. I mean, not only you guys here sitting here today and us talking about these things, but it's also about actually it's bringing that next level through. It's working with kind of the universities, that talent pipeline, and bringing people through, and really exciting to say that actually, do you know what? That DevOps, it's not just out there in your kind of high-end tech firms. Actually, there's these things here where we're doing these impacts. So it's really good for us, for me anyway, I think, to get out and shout about that. But anyway, that's, I guess, enough from my perspective. I mean, I guess, Ash, what do you think kind of brings it all together, I guess? Or...
I think from what we've talked about, and I think some of the key success factors are that actually customer and digital as one team has really worked for us. And I think that has been one of the key success factors. Really, we're just designing, co-designing, we're doing everything together. And when you're working together with that one aim, then your delivery is going to be really good. As part of Salford, squad workings, we do squad working for projects anyway. So that's another success factor I see, because squads come together on projects. We all know our roles and responsibilities, and we all then go and deliver. And because we're used to that, that's worked for us as well, Rob. I think that's been really good. Another one, and our Assistant Director Steve Fry is really good at, is anticipation. I think during the pandemic, a lot of the work that we did was, there was a lot of anticipation, a lot of things were anticipated that we think this is coming down the pipeline. If we hear any noise, we think track and trace is coming. Should we start looking at it? Should we be developing something so that we're ready for it on day one? And actually, that happened a lot. And I've got to say, there's nothing we developed, or pre-developed, shall I say, that actually didn't become an end solution. So it really worked for that. And I think when we talk about DevOps, part of talking about DevOps is about having a DevOps culture. And I think culture starts with the organisation. And I think at Salford we have a positive permission culture. And I think that's really helped us through pandemics, empowered and trusted myself and the team and colleagues basically to just go and do what we do best. You know, not be micromanaged. We've been able to be really creative out of that and really deliver. I think that's really important. The culture starts at the organisation, and then you build your DevOps culture, and I think that was really important. So those are some of the key success factors from my point of view. No,
absolutely. I mean, you can bang on about some of the technology that goes into it. You talk about your CI tools, and you talk about your version and control and all those things, which you need them, but it's bigger, isn't it? It's the culture, like you said. It's about the mindset almost, about how you're going to do those and deliver at scale and iterate through. Absolutely. Jess, what about you? Anything from your side?
Added to what Ash said, obviously Ash is repeating, I'm just being what Ash said, because we have a strong base from a technical point of view. I think we have the culture, we have this reusable, pluggable, and because we had strong CRM base, we could extend it. And also what the way, I think since I worked in Salford, probably in 2012, we had this agile working methodology which helped, where rather than giving the project, rather than breaking the project into small chunks and then delivering it so that the users test it, that's a good way of, I think, that's helped as well in this pandemic, because we were delivering in small modules and then we were adding things to extending it. Like, for example, the test track trace, we started with the swab testing, it was delivered, and then we added modules to it, and that helps as well, because the agile working technology helps for us, and it helps the customers as well, because they are now inundated with like a big project, and they, like a big software you throw at them and they come and use it, then they find it difficult. But if you give them in small chunks, they're happy to use it, they try it, they tell what can be improved. So those type of feedback also helps us. So I think overall, it was this whole 1 year has been a good experience, actually, because we've never faced a pandemic in our life. This is the first time I'm here. I don't think even my parents ever talked about pandemic. So it was, what is coming, we don't know. And it's, again, the anticipation. And, even from a developer point of view, I have to think, right, if this is coming, what could Steve ask next for, or what could Ash ask me next on this? So we need to base. So all this, it's a thinking process that we've gone through this 1 year, and it has helped. It has helped, not for me, but for the team as a whole.
No, absolutely. And again, it's that same thing. It's about that growing together. It's about growing our own and that talent pipeline. I think Yeah, I know we've covered a load of stuff, and I guess there's a couple of different angles people might be watching on, so I guess I'd kind of reiterate, if anybody's got any questions, like reach out to us, or contact details will be on the Digital Leaders site. Again, definitely recommend some of the other speeches that our colleagues have done, talks this week, so absolutely check in on those. I think that underlines all through it. I think we've done a good job when nobody asks the questions about the technology, like almost we need to be that invisible layer. I think the bit that we've kind of benefited with our links into customer predominantly, but also working with all of our customers, so customer services, but then also our customers, is that like we allow them to focus on the model or the process and don't worry about the technical. Like we've got that. Like that's the easy bit. We see that as there. If you've got your method down, that's fine. Because I mean, I know there's a kind of a bit of a mantra around like if you put digital on top of something that's broken, you'll just have a digital broken thing. Or do you know what? Technology just increases the speed of whatever it is you're looking at. So if you've got something that's really good, then brilliant, digital will really improve it. If you've got something that's really bad, digital will just break it really fast. So it should never be about the technical as much as we get excited about it. It should never be about that. And I don't think it ever is in Salford. I think we're really lucky that actually we're really customer focused, and it is always about working with the people rather than doing things to the people. So no, really important. So no, well, I don't know. That feels like an apt point to end on, unless there's anything you guys want to end on.
No.
There is a spirit of Salford in each one of us. I think that is so true in each one of us.
Get the camera on that. I love that on brand.
So this is now, even for the customers, even within the team, the spirit of Salford does really help. This is us actually. Absolutely is. No, brilliant. Well, I think that's us for today. I think if anyone's got any follow-up questions that come in, we'll obviously come back to you guys. But thank you very much for tuning in. Feel free to watch again and up our views. And yeah, we'll